This is Shelley Kraft coming to you live on SNNLive. We're at the Aegis Capital Corp Investment Growth Conference here in Las Vegas 2016. I have with me Dr. David Mazzo, Caladrius Biosciences. It's a publicly traded company on NASDAQ, and the symbol is CLBS. Welcome to SNNLive.
Thanks, Shelley. It's a great pleasure to be here.
It's good to have you. Let's start out with an overview on Caladrius, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So Caladrius is an interesting company in that we operate a hybrid model that combines a very well-known and growing contract development and manufacturing organization that specializes in cell therapy with a therapeutics development arm that is developing autologous cell therapy products for treatments of diseases that are currently uncurable.
Which came first?
Well, it's actually interesting. They both kind of evolved at about the same time. The CDMO, or the manufacturing arm, is called PCT, and PCT was an acquisition of our predecessor company back in 2011. So I guess you could say the root of Caladrius is really therapeutics development with this expansion into technology over time.
So does that division have revenues?
Yeah, actually, PCT has a significant amount of revenues. It's projected this year to exceed $30 million in revenue with some, I think, very nice free cash flow. This was the first year that we actually provided projections to the market, and I'm very pleased that we're achieving those and maybe even will overachieve them. But it's a company that's been growing more than 20% or 25% a year for the last several years, and that growth trajectory is expected to continue.
Now let's talk about your therapeutics.
Yeah, so on a therapeutic side, we have a very specific focus. Today, we're working in T regulatory cell chemistry, polyclonal T cells to be specific, with the idea of finding treatments for autoimmune diseases. Our most advanced program is using T regulatory cells in the treatment of type 1 diabetes.
An enormous market. Let's talk about what it actually does, what's different about it, and how soon it might come to market.
Sure. So what makes this technology interesting is that first, it's an autologous cell therapy product. That means that we start with a sample of cells from a patient who's afflicted with the disease. We modify and manipulate those cells, we expand them, we activate them, and then we return them back to that same patient. So this is patient-specific medicine. That's the first distinguishing factor. The next distinguishing factor is that these are polyclonal T cells. So in many cases in autoimmune disease or in immunotherapy, people are trying to target specific antigens in order to make their drugs more effective. Our approach is actually trying to exploit the evolution of the human genome over the course of the last 2 millennia to provide a polyclonal approach that will attack all of those things that really would help us produce a better result. So that's a different approach. And then we are in phase 2, so we're the most advanced program in cell therapy in type 1 diabetes, the only cell therapy program to our knowledge that's ever been granted fast track designation by the FDA. It's an orphan drug designation as well, and a similar designation from Europe called Advanced Therapeutic Medicinal Product Classification. So all of the regulatory agencies have recognized the promise here, and the fact that we now have a research collaboration with Sanford Research, a large Midwestern-based multi-billion-dollar foundation focused on eradicating type 1 diabetes, I think also bodes well for the promise that this technology holds.
Eradicating to me could mean cure. So does this mean we're beyond something called treatment?
I'm very careful about using...
And I'm not trying to put you in a bad position.
I'm going to be very careful about saying the word cure. We, in this study, will determine the durability of the effect of these cells. Earlier studies indicate that there is the promise of a durable effect, but whether that means that one treatment will be enough to eliminate symptoms, and some people call the elimination of symptoms a cure, but we don't know that yet. And so it will come out of the results of this trial, but clearly we believe that this is going to be something that will not require very frequent dosing, but that if there is multiple doses, they will be spread over time.
Where does the science come from?
So, like most of our programs, we have a focus on using science that comes from very well respected and well known sources. So in the case of this T-cell approach, the fundamental science comes out of Professor Jeffrey Bluestone's research at the University of California, San Francisco, and is augmented by information and intellectual property that we've derived from the University of Pennsylvania, Yale University, and several other prominent national and international institutions.
What's your background?
I'm actually a chemist by training. I have a PhD in chemistry, and I've been in the pharmaceutical industry my entire career, which is almost 35 years now. For about 2/3 of that, I was an executive in R&D in a variety of big pharma companies, developing products internationally. In fact, living overseas, both in Europe and developing products for a Japanese company in Japan. In the last 15 or so years, I have been the CEO of a variety of emerging technology or small biotech type companies.
And what's the rest of the team look like?
The rest of the team is actually very similar, although they're all younger and better looking than I am. But the fact is that they all are very well experienced in the pharmaceutical and healthcare business. Many of them have very relevant disease-specific or technology-specific expertise and very fine reputations in developing products successfully across technologies, across therapeutic indications, and across geographic territories.
Your CEO, when you think about 18 months ahead, what are some of the milestones you'd like to see achieved? And only tell me what you can.
Right. So I'll just tell you what we've said publicly, and we're very excited about the possibility of the news flow for the next 12 to 18 months. In our phase 2 program for type 1 diabetes, we expect over the course of actually the next 9 to 12 months to announce the initial results of the Data Safety Monitoring Board of the interim safety analysis at 3 months of the first cohort, to announce the initiation of enrollment in the second cohort pending the result of that analysis. We also have the opportunity that we may be initiating some clinical work with our CD34 ischemic repair technology, but that's based upon either ongoing partnering discussions or final decisions from granting agencies. On the PCT side, we will continue to report revenue quarter on quarter. Hopefully that will continue to show the kind of growth that we've projected, and as well as the accumulation of new clients, and hopefully one of our late-stage clients will ultimately choose us to be their major commercial partner as well. So all of these things are possible announcements in the very near term. All should be significant value-creating events for us.
Now, for more information for our audience, I'd like to give them your website, if you would.
Please do. www.caladrius, that's CALADRIUS.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. David Mazzo, Caladrius Biosciences. It's a publicly traded company, and the symbol is CLBS, and it's on NASDAQ. I'm Shelley Kraft. This is SNNLive, and we're coming to you live from the Aegis Capital Corp Investment Growth Conference in Las Vegas 2016. David, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Shelley. I appreciate it very much.
My pleasure.